NEX'ZR on the PC Engine is an absolute masterpiece. It's not only one of the greatest shooters of all time, but one of the best designed games of the 16-bit era. Vertical shooting legends like Blazing Lasers, Soldier Blade, Musha, and Image Fight bow in its presence, and yet it owes everything to them and other classics. It's the culmination of the entire 8 and 16-bit eras into a final, streamlined, and perfectly executed shooting experience. So why have so few people heard of it outside of Japan? There's a good chance many of you watching never have. So in this episode, the NEX'ZR Special, we're going on a journey of discovery to show how truly special NEX'ZR is. If I had just one word to describe NEX'ZR, it would be epic. From the instantly involving story, to the incredible music and presentation, to the finely polished gameplay, it's a complete experience that's even greater than the sum of its parts. It reminds me of a truly epic film like Empire Strikes Back, where when it's all over, you have to sit back and marvel at what you just experienced. It leaves a lasting impression. And a big part of that is the story. Yes, I just mentioned story in a shoot 'em up. Imagine that. Think about the greatest dramas ever conceived. From Star Wars to Battlestar Galactica, from Macross to Gundam, to the late Guardians of the Galaxy. What made them great? Sure, the fabulous mecha designs, unique worlds, and massive space battles were a big part, but there are plenty of sci-fi epics with amazing art and design rotting in the scrap heap of history because they failed us on the most basic human level. They lack humanity. The most memorable experiences are personal. They're about characters and the unforeseen circumstances that set them upon their journey. When Luke returns to find his parents' home burned to the ground, his entire destiny is changed in an instant, and his journey begins. And so it begins with NEX'ZR. At its heart, a simple tale of revenge, set up beautifully through one of the most well-choreographed and effective intros this side of Ease. It's what the PC Engine CD did best, creating cinematic moments through cutscenes, and NEX'ZR is handled brilliantly. As a special treat, I had this amazing intro translated by WLTR3565. So as we start our journey, sit back and enjoy the opening cutscene to NEX'ZR for the first time ever with English subtitles.
敵はどれだけの数を出してきてるんだ。
敵の全兵力がこの区域に集中してるわけじゃないのよ。それとも怖がってるのかしら、ランディ。
そうかもな。前方に敵。データにない機体だ。気をつけろ、シルディ。
私に任せて。
やめろ、シルディ。そいつは俺がやる。
この子出てくるから。早い。 避けられた。どこ？
逃げろシルディ！シルデルナシックス中域における戦闘で連邦宇宙軍は主力を含む4個艦隊を撃破された。これは全兵力の優に8割にも及ぶ被害だった。この後、月軌道および月面上での戦闘により宇宙軍は事実上壊滅。連邦政府は奴らに無条件降伏し、全ての戦闘は終結した。しかし一部の徹底抗戦を唱える部隊は残存兵力を放棄されたコロニーへと集結させ、奴らの機動兵器に対抗しうる兵器の開発を始めた。そして俺もシルディの仇を取るために、奴をこの手で仕留めるためにそこへ向かった。3年後、ついに奴らの兵器に対抗しうるシステムが完成し、敵主力を叩くための作戦が立てられ、俺が志願したその時が。
メインシステムオールグリーン、バトルナビゲーションシステムブートアップ、フライトコントロールシステムスクランブルモードにセット。メインおよびサブジェネレーター始動。 FCS 作動確認。全兵装使用可能です。
レイ、目標へのアプローチコースを指示してくれ。
了解。発艦後のコースは方位0035、距離 2.5 パーセクです。スラッシャースクランブルデッキに固定。射出面移動してください。スクランブルデッキ射出位置へ固定。コースゲートオープン。スラッシャー射出準備せよ。全システムオールグリーン。スラッシャー発進せよ。
You launch into the midst of a monumental space battle, laser fire raging in the background as massive cruisers warp in from hyperspace, unleashing their cannons. Mechs take off from the landing strips, then fly up to meet you before getting annihilated by your homing lasers. Talk about a way to kick off a game. Instead of an all too easy, boring opening stage, NEX'ZR puts on a masterclass in how to open a game with an impressive set piece for the ages, all playing to one of the most epic music tracks heard in a shooter. The gameplay is a refinement of the best vertical shooters that came before, streamlined to its most basic. NEX'ZR throws out the idea of gimmicks and has the balls to say, "My game design is so damn good, and that's all you need, a joystick and a fire button. Have at it." It plays like a Caravan shooting stage in its purest form, where all your focus is squarely on enemy patterns and your screen position. A single button to fire both primary and secondary weapons. No bombs to save you from mistakes. No speed changes or multiple weapons to fumble with. No respawns at death. Fire and dodge, or die. It's early 90s style vertical shooting at its absolute best. It has the precise, pinpoint controls of the mighty Soldier Blade and thoughtfully paced, creative stages of IREM's Image Fight, where future games like Radiant Silvergun basked in their excess, both in weapon options and overabundance of content. Nexzr revels in its simplicity. Unlimited continues mean you can practice to your heart's content, and well-placed checkpoints ensure passing through a hard section doesn't entail playing through it again until you continue. All this refinement is due to the experienced hands of developer Kaneko and their interstate console division, responsible for awesome games like Aero Blasters, Super Star Soldier, and Star Parodier, and using the extra power of the Super CD, created something truly spectacular. Nexzr exudes that early 90s sci-fi vibe, both in its art direction and music. You can tell the heavy influence of Gundam, in particular with the sharp and blocky ship and enemy designs. The soundtrack is straight out of a sci-fi flick of that era, with each stage having audio cues linking them all together, making it feel like one cohesive score. And of all the music tracks, I love the 80s vibe created by the synthesized keyboard here. Nexzr also knows that sometimes the best moments are the calm before the storm, fading out the music to welcome an incoming threat before ramping up the tension as you approach what looks like the pit of the Death Star as a massive brain rises from below to a chilling boss track. It proceeds to unload lightning strikes in a way you'd think the Emperor's brain rose from the dead. Also of special mention are the sound effects, some of the coolest and well recorded in a shooter of its time, right up there with blazing lasers, especially the explosions that sound straight out of an anime of the era. Nexzr is the epitome of less is more. Nothing about the game's graphics and stages are overly busy. The levels and game is the perfect length, never overstaying its welcome, and most stages have a defining feature that make them memorable, like Stage 3, where you fly through the enemy fortress at high speed, all while dodging incoming fire from wall-mounted cannons, before squaring off with the stage boss in tight corridors with little room to maneuver. Or Stage 5, a straight-up homage to Image Fight, battling alongside a mothership while taking out its weapons and fighters that launch from within. Some of the sub-weapon types are pretty creative, like the homing lasers. I wouldn't be surprised if future games like Rayforce were influenced by it. Or, one of the best weapons in the game, the remote drones that fly around on their own, taking out enemies in hard-to-reach places, making certain stages much more manageable to get through. Nexzr is not an easy game and requires more than just adept dodging skills. While it's not as brutal as something like Image Fight, it has the same thoughtful design to its stages, where learning the best way to approach each section is the path to victory. It's perfectly obvious that the game was designed by a team that understood shooters of the era and what makes them fun to play. Every enemy pattern is thoughtful and never haphazard. Every section has a purpose and is a fun challenge to figure out and master. The devs also understood difficulty settings and what makes a game more challenging to play while remaining fun. Instead of lazily increasing enemy hit points, it ups the pacing by increasing shots fired and changes your strategy. The hardest mode, translated as "so cruel," adds suicide bullets, making this already tough game an exercise in perfection. But even on its base normal setting, the game is a fun challenge to learn for even experienced players. And just as the game began on a personal level, so does it end with an understated final battle to exact revenge against the bastard that took your love.
やったか。レイ、バネットをスキャンしてくれ。
了解。目標をスキャンします。スキャン終了。目標完全に破壊。最優先目標より外します。
そうか。祈祷する。どうしたレイ？
高エネルギー弾接近中。バネットからです。
何？シールドスプリッターか。
シールドレベル2まで破損。回復まで15秒です。
あの機体はレイ、機体の識別だ。急げ。
了解。確認終了。識別コード XF31001B。3年前ルナ6中域において接触した機体です。
やつだ。あの時のレーザー通信だと。
モニターに出します。
これはスラッシャーにまだ生き残りがいたとはな。だがな、この程度の攻撃では私の計画は潰されはせんよ。
貴様の計画だと？
そう、私自らの手で地球人類を粛清するという計画だよ。
貴様、一体何者だ？
私か？私は神だよ。大いなる宇宙の意志によって使わされたな。
神だと？何をわけのわからないことを。レイ、イナーシャルキャンセラー全開だ。
了解。
神に勝てるとでも思っているのか？
たとえ貴様が誰であろうと許さん。シルディの仇、この場で撃たせてもらう。
俗物が神の力存分に思い知らせてくれるわ。
行くぞー
！Not a massive ship, but a mano showdown against a mech your size and a powerful laser. I also love how after the initial phase, he backs off and tosses the laser aside, ready to unload some serious business. Just like the rest of the game, it's a fun and thoughtful battle where victory is gained by learning the timing and pattern of the various attacks and expertly avoiding them, but without simply becoming a memory exercise. I won't give away the ending, but it's a solemn punctuation to the journey you just completed, with a beautiful rendition of the opening track that ties the ending back with the beginning. NEX'ZR is a game that is more than the sum of its parts. The controls feel like that of Soldier Blade, but it's never as manic and fast-paced. Its pacing is rather more of Image Fight, but it's never quite as intricate or demanding in perfect memorization of the stages. The music is about as epic as it comes and completely unique in terms of shooter soundtracks, yet It's not the type of earworm that'll have you humming it for days, like Super Star Soldier. The graphics and effects are beautiful and contrast perfectly with the art style, yet they never reach the wild heights of a game like Lords of Thunder. And the cinematics are not as elaborate as something like the intro to Gate of Thunder, yet the intro is flawless in its simplicity, as are the game's controls and options. But wait, there's more! A special version of NEX'ZR was also released for the Summer Carnival series in 1993, a caravan competition held by NEX'ZR Japan. The Caravan mode is a completely unique stage with loads of enemies and a boss not seen in the main game, sporting both a 2-minute mode for high score and a time attack for how quickly you can reach 1,000,000 points. This stage is absolutely kick-ass and worth playing in and of itself. The pacing is faster as you'd expect from a Caravan mode, and the music is the kind that keeps you coming back just one more time. And you can bet your granny's soiled underwear we'll be doing our own Caravan contest for this game at some point in the future. As of this video, you won't find NEX'ZR selling for anything under $200, and often far more based on its condition. If you can play it through emulation or a flash card, I couldn't possibly recommend it more. The special version CD goes for much less, just over $100, and contains not only the full game, but also the Caravan and time attack modes, so it's a much better value. However, it's missing the cool cutscenes from the original and sports just a plain white cover. That being said, for the price and the bonus of having the Caravan mode, it's a great option to consider if you're looking to pick one up. NEX'ZR is a shooter fan's shooter for those that have already played so many and can appreciate all of its nuance like that of a fine wine. As one of the premier shooting games on the PC Engine, a console with over 100 of them to call its own, it stood the test of time and is one for the ages. There's really nothing else I can say that will do NEX'ZR and its smooth gameplay and top-shelf production value justice. So I'll end this homage to one of the greatest 90s shooters of all time with some gameplay. Ladies and gentlemen, NEX'ZR is in the house.